Hi everyone, welcome to today's neuroscience lesson, Strategies to Remember. As you may have guessed from the title of the lesson, today we're going to be talking about some tips and tricks you can use to improve your memory. Before we get started on that, it's important that we first talk about what memory is. Now, many of you may be familiar with the formal definition of memory, the cognitive function of storing information for reference at a later point in time. But were you aware that there are different kinds of memory? Memory can actually be split by the kinds of information that is being stored. Specifically, we have declarative memory and we have procedural memory. Declarative memory refers to the memory of discrete information, such as the names of planets, specific locations, and the year in which the Declaration of Independence was signed. Procedural memory refers to the memory for how to do things, like hitting a tennis ball or playing the piano.
Forgetting is a natural activity. At any point, you are taking in a lot of information from all of your senses. Your brain forgets things that it decides are not useful so that it can have enough space to store and process essential information. For example, you may be focused on your screen or the words you're hearing now, but not on the way your shirt feels against your skin or any small noises in the room around you. We typically also can't remember things with an infinite amount of detail. For example, do you remember what a penny looks like? Take a look at these pictures. Which one is correct? Feel free to stop the video and take a closer look, then resume it when you think you know. The correct answer is B. Did you guess it correctly? If you didn't, you're not alone. Our brains don't typically store information about objects in this level of detail. We only remember enough to tell the difference between, for example, a penny and a quarter in our everyday lives.
So, how can we improve our memory? We can use mnemonics, which are strategies to help us remember. They can help us memorize strings of information in our daily lives, such as phone numbers and the colors of the rainbow. We will be going over different kinds of mnemonics that we can use to improve our memory.
The first mnemonic strategy that we're going to cover is the use of rhythms and rhymes to improve declarative memory. Some classic examples you may be familiar with are the songs we use to remember the order of the alphabet and the rhyme I before E except after C. Incorporating rhythms and rhymes is a great strategy to help solidify declarative memory, so the next time you find yourself struggling to make something stick, see if you can use a rhythm or rhyme to help.
Another mnemonic strategy for remembering facts is to use acronyms or short phrases. One example of an acronym is Roy G. Biv, which is used to remember the sequence of colors in the rainbow. These are red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. An example of a mnemonic phrase is my very eager mother just served us noodles, which can be used to remember the order of the 8 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune.
Our next mnemonic is grouping or chunking information. If you're given a long line of information to memorize, you can break it up into smaller, meaningful groups to make it easier to remember. One common example of grouping is the way we memorize phone numbers. We break up a 10-digit number into 3 chunks to make it easier for us to remember. Here's an example of grouping that you can try for yourself. Try to remember as many of these letters as possible. Now let's break it up into meaningful parts and see if that helps us remember the letters. You can see now that the string of letters is made of common acronyms. Grouping the letters in this way makes it much easier for us to remember them.
The next mnemonic strategy we're going to be discussing is the use of mental imagery. It involves the generation of a vivid mental image in order to remember information. Take this list of words for example. I'd be willing to bet that after being given just a brief period of time, there are not many people that would be able to recall more than a handful of the words on the list. However, a vivid mental image can go a long way in helping you remember the words from the list. For our image, let's have a horse that's wearing boots and a monocle. But why stop there? Let's say that this horse is also balancing a giant jack-o'-lantern on its back and painting a picture of its favorite foods, apples and ice cream, and doing all of this while parachuting. To top it off, let's say it also has a tail made of matchsticks, and of course, where else would you expect to see such a ridiculous scene except for on television? Now, if you take a minute to try and fix this image in your head, I have no doubt that you'll be much better equipped to remember the items from that random list of words.
You might find that some mnemonic strategies are more helpful than others. Let's find out which one works best for you. You will have 20 seconds to study the items that appear on your screen. When you see the red square, pause the video and try to recall as many items as you can. Write down the total number that you could successfully remember and resume the video. Ready? Here we go. How many did you get? Were you surprised by the result? Let's try introducing one of the mnemonic strategies that we learned earlier to help us remember by grouping some of the items together. Watch carefully, then pause the video when you see the red square and try to recall as many items as you can, like before. Write down the number that you could successfully remember, then resume the video. How many were you able to recall now? Was this number lower or higher than the first round? Let's try this one last time, this time using a phrase to help us remember. The first letter of each word in the phrase will correspond to the first letter of each item name. Remember, when you see the red square, pause the video and see how many items you can recall. Are you ready? Here are the items, and here is the phrase. Please keep the silly penguin away from my witty cousin. How many did you get this time? Let's compare the results of all 3 rounds. When were you able to remember the most items? Did you use a mnemonic to do so? And if so, which one?
Mnemonics can help us remember incredible amounts of information. Winners of memory championships use mnemonics all the time to remember information, such as the order of an entire deck of cards and thousands of digits of pi. In fact, the world record holder for remembering the most digits of pi can memorize 67,890 digits. Clearly, mnemonics are very useful tools for helping us improve our memory.
Although memory can be powerful, it's also important to be aware of the fact that memory can be tricked. A study done at Stanford showed that the recollection of the severity of a car accident could be altered simply by changing the way questions about the accident were asked. Specifically, participants were asked how fast the cars were going when they hit each other, or how fast the cars were going when they smashed into each other. The scenes recalled by the participants given the smashed version of the question were more severe than the accident scenes recalled by participants that were given the hit version of the question. In short, your memory can be a powerful tool, but it is important to remember that it can also be fooled. And with that, we conclude our lesson for strategies to remember. Thanks for tuning in, and take care.